something, let me know.
No, you're fine. Okay, good morning. Welcome to the first day where, if you're in America, in like 99% of America, we have had our time fall back to normal by 1 hour, and I feel fantastic. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well. That extra hour of sleep definitely helps.
Yeah, smiling. My camera's a little, got a new little setup here, just a little new setup, and playing around, and it was fantastic. We are here on November 3rd in the year of our Lord 2024, and we are going to talk about comic books because Josh, I don't know if I told you or if I was real subtle about it in a message and stuff, you were a little bit of a hit. I got like private DMs like that Josh dude is all right. So
All
welcome to
right.
the second appearance on the Howler Mouse channel. You know,
Well, I definitely appreciate it.
I had my way, you just be running the show this morning as we have our cup of coffee. And for people watching this live, I will be changing the title. It still have Josh in the title, but Josh has some books he wants to show. And
Oh,
I got
yeah.
one or two things, and we have comic talk, and we just had Halloween pass. Josh still gets to take kids out on Halloween, and I get to rage about trunk or treat. And if people don't know what trunk or treat is, instead of going around the neighborhoods, you get to go to a parking lot somewhere, and these lazy parents, and if you're one, I'm sorry, you're probably giving in to peer pressure with the HOA. I don't know. And you open up the trunk of your car, and the kids get to walk around walk around a parking lot and get their candy. What did you do there, Josh? What did you do with your
So,
younglings?
so I've got two little ones, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and we went downtown. They do one of those big ones, and like I think the police departments, the fire departments, everybody's involved now. And we went down probably about 6 o'clock, and it was lined around the block, like people
Right on.
not like getting candy, but lined up to get into the area to even get to the candy. And I was like, we're not doing this. I said, we're going to go the old fashioned way. We're going to
Yeah,
go around the block. We're going to, there's older people who can't get out to those events.
yeah.
And, the boys, they did fine on candy. I think we came home with like 3 or 4 bucket loads of candy. So yeah,
Nice.
there's a lot to be said about the old ways.
Oh yeah. Well, the trunk or treat thing, I've been trying to figure out exactly where this is happening because, thanks to Facebook, I have friends up north. I have a few out west. A few people who graduated, and I wonder what happened to them. And it turns out they joined the Navy and they live on the West Coast. They never came back. They got out. You know what I mean? And they're posting stuff with their grandkids. That blows my mind. Their grandkids now. I didn't know I was going to say that. That hit me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. But anyway, with their grandkids and some people with their kids, and they're still in the neighborhood doing it. And those kids look like they're having a blast. And then when you see the trunk or trick kids or whatever it's called,
Trunk or treat.
yeah, I'm sitting here like, are you looking at your kids? Because they're not, it's not that they're miserable. There's really not a lot of joy there. They're like, I walked around a parking lot. It's kind of like watching the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and everybody's like, I got a sucker. I got chocolate. I got a rock. And the trunk or treat kids are the
It's the
rock
rock.
kids. Yeah, that's their face. So, look at your kids. You know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to be about them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it probably works well in areas that are like a little more rural, like if you don't have a lot of houses or like a really good community. But I'm blessed to live in town and have some pretty safe, really populated areas where I would feel comfortable.
Yeah.
The boys get older. If they wanted to go off on their own, I would feel fine with that. But,
Rural communities, fair enough. I can go with that. Yeah. So let's see who's here. And then we got John, who has been here since 8 o'clock waiting on us. He was here before we were. And as I always say, be like John. Like this video, share it, subscribe, hit that bell. And Josh, you are Zinc Age Comics, correct?
yep.
Do the same for Josh, guys. Go, encourage him. We got Afro Sci-Fi. Well, I say Afro Sci-Fi, man. Greetings and everyone in the chat. Say good morning to our friend here, man. I feel like we got a laid back Post Malone vibe going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. John Jones is here. Great to see him. Victor, good morning. I swear I thought John Jones got us there. Yeah. Someone's been dipping in the eggnog early. Yeah.
He'd really think that if he saw you knock that camera off earlier.
Oh God, that was so funny. I looked up and there you were. I had to set the camera different, and it slid right when Josh came on to where he could see me, and I'm like yelling, f bombs, and I'm like, "Well, good morning, Josh." Victor Shade, good morning, Friar Tuck. My kids are both in college now, but when they were little, we would do both trunk and old school doorbell ringing. Nice.
To be fair, that was the plan for us. We were going to do both, but we ended
Yeah.
up just doing the the old way.
And let me make it clear. I'm not, this isn't a hill I'm willing to die on. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can just work with what I see, but I'm a fan of of going around the neighborhood. I really am. But, I'm so old that in the trailer park I grew up at, you had the kids there. There were tons of kids. But
Yeah.
when it came to Halloween, I had planned 4 Halloweens in a row of who I was going to paint my face as members of Kiss, who got to be first to last. And then all of a sudden, I would get my face painted. Trick or treat had already started. And I would go outside, and it was elbow to elbow kids. And I'm like, who the hell are these kids? Where'd they come from? There were kids I've never seen before nor since, but it was elbow to elbow kids. So,
Come to get that candy. That's
yeah,
what.
my memory is different. There were tons of kids everywhere. So, all right. So, good morning, everybody. Glad you joined us. And like I said, thumbs up, like it, subscribe it. And Josh, I'm going to plug something I'm kind of trying to work on. We are going on vacation. Josh knows all this, right? I'm in the family here. We're going on vacation. And what I like to do is probably try to do an actual video where I have been redoing this room. I figured out how to finally reorganize this mess of a room. I've got, I think, 6 short boxes and 2 long boxes. And I took time to get all the books I haven't organized. And now I have a box of Marvel comics that need to be organized, and this needs to be organized. And I found a shitload of Alan Davis work. And I did not realize that I have been following Alan Davis comic art since 1983. And I think I'm going to do like a short video, just like the appreciation of Alan Davis, and try to have that to go. So with that said, who's your favorite artist there?
For me,
Yeah.
I'm kind of bouncing. Neil Adams is obviously up there. There's like some very easy answers. I think we highlighted last week. I like a lot of the work Michael Turner did. Big J. Scott Campbell fan.
Right on.
Probably modern artists. I kind of highlighted it last week, and I'll have one of his books here. Greg Smallwood. He does a lot. It's a little more digital, so like I know that some people probably not as big a fan, but he puts out really good work. Art Germ, a lot of these new artists I'm a big fan of.
Nice.
I'm a sucker for some of the cover buys. So
I'm a Kirby Byrne nut.
oh yeah.
I'm trying to think. That's the first two popping in my head, but get with me in 5 minutes and I'll be like, these guys too. Brian
There's just
Baller.
there's so many great artists. And there are guys who like people talk about and you're like, well, that's not really my taste, but there's so many great ones out there that it's hard to narrow that down.
Okay, awesome. I'll tell you what, I've got one book and we'll segue in there, but we've talked a little bit about it. I'm loving these. Am I coming up mirrored? Well, look at that. No, it's right. Anyway, I'm digging these compact comics, these manga sized books where you get about 300 pages for $10. And I saw one for the Joker, Brian Azzarello Joker, and it looked like it was half of this, and they were still charging $10. So who knows? But anyway, I'm catching up. This is probably like the second or third real series that I bought in the 21st century, from the 21st century. But the Sirens of Gotham and Gotham City, but they've changed the title to Harley Quinn in the the Sirens of Gotham City. The first 13 issues, and it blows my mind because I thought it was all Paul Dini, and it turns out there's like 3 or 4 different writers on this. I read the first 4 or 5 pages, and I was actually kind of digging it because Paul Dini, super Batman writer from the animated series to a little run on detective there. He's had a little hit or miss of books. I'm not going to be negative and point those out, but yeah, I'm really digging these compact comics. I don't know. I just really like them. It's good to see a little bit of an evolution in comics that's actually pretty cool and affordable. I think the price is the most important thing. to bring
Yeah,
people
I
in.
think 13 issues essentially for $10 in a
Yep.
collected edition like that to people my age who don't, the floppy is not necessarily the go-to. I mean, dude, that's right up my alley. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, and when you were on, it was pointed out to me in the comments later on that I misunderstood one of your questions. I'm not awake in the morning. I'm an old man that needs coffee. Plus, I was reading comments and doing all this, and I was getting jacked up. Totally me, but the turnoff about the price of comics to new
yeah,
readers—that's the thing, right? I agree
yeah.
with you. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I think in the comments after that, I was talking to someone, and I got to looking. I think that some of the EC books that I've picked up here that I'll talk about, I think they run like 4.99, and an issue one is like 7.99.
That's a
So
perfect segue, sir. That's a
yeah,
perfect segue. Yeah.
so just jumping right into it, I kind of highlighted on the last show. I do my comic shop because there's really nothing around here like super close. That's
Yeah.
not going to cost me as much to drive to as shipping to my house anyway. So some of the books I picked up this week, I got a facsimile of famous Batman here.
See, and I'm going blank on it, and just because, but I'm positive that this is why I love doing this, man. We're going to get told here in the chat. You wait and
Oh
see,
yeah,
right? That's a facsimile edition of, I think, a part of the book that was part of a secret crossover between Marvel and DC in the early 70s, if it has to do with Rutledge, Vermont. You had like oh God, who were they? Lynn Wynn, I think Englehart, a bunch of these guys were like actual friends in the 70s. So they had 4 books where the subplot was all the 2D Justice League, Batman, a Bizarre Adventure or something like that with the Beast, and I can't think of the other one. Maybe an Avengers book. It had a subplot. I've done a video on it like 14 years ago. The secret, but there's a secret crossover where they all drew themselves in the book like in a Scooby Doo type little mystery, while the actual comic was going on. And either you knew or you didn't know. If you were collecting all those books, you lucked up, but it wasn't talked about. There was no news going on about it to collect those. So I'm wondering if that facsimile edition is part of that Rutledge, Vermont thing. I used to know the books off the top of my head. I got them in a box here somewhere. I got 3 out of the 4.
yeah. Well, I'll definitely be able to give you a better idea. That's actually the only book that I got in my shipment last week that I haven't um,
Nice.
read through yet. So then, bouncing off of that, there's a new Batman book. Let's see if I get that in there. Batman Full Moon. So this is a full glow in the dark cover. I don't know if it comes through, but that's what that is. Obviously, it came protected from my comic shop.
Well, hold it up there if you don't care. A
I'll
little
pull
bit.
it back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you showed that to me before we went on the show, I automatically asked if that was like Neil Adams. Like, of course, I know Neil Adams has passed away, but they pull art and stuff out of places you never know. But when I saw it in the 90s, when he had Continuity Comics, he had some kind of crossover, and I got what was it, Megalith? He had a book called Megalith, and it had a werewolf cover like that. Plus,
Yeah.
he did a Batman in the 70s, and I'm like, that is heavily Neil Adams influenced for a werewolf.
Yeah.
That's probably like one of the few gimmick covers that I'm like a huge fan of. I love those glow in the dark covers when they're done
Me too.
right. They're
There's a
fantastic.
couple Spectre. I think there's one Spectre one. There's a Punisher one. I'm a sucker for those as well. So if you just want a quick shot, I really like the story. The artwork is really really strong in some parts. Other parts it leaves a little bit to be desired. I think it's a limited series. I don't think it's anything. I think it's like a couple issues long. So I'll have more to say about it when I get the other issues. But
I like to get you a gimmick. You know what I mean? Like for your ratings. Like I don't know, you 2 thumbs up. Or
yeah,
one and a
does it
half.
get to recommend or not? I would recommend it. I
Yeah,
like that one.
yeah,
So then,
7.5 out of 20. I don't know.
so then we get into some of the EC books I kind of mentioned last week.
There
This
we
is a
go.
Greg Smallwood cover. So obviously, I'm a sucker for it. I
Hold
was going
on.
to
You know what?
get
I want to let me see if I can do this right. I'm gonna try to give you a solo screen if I remember how to do it here. There we go. Oh, there we go. That is a beautiful cover.
dude, his art and really you have to see it in person to really get a feel for it. But it's really good. The stories kind of let me down this week. I wasn't as strong on the stories this week. But the artwork's good. Um, and honestly, I think that this book surprised me this week because it had been the weaker of the two series. The Abyss. I struggle with this word epitaphs, or you know, not as strong on saying it, but this is the mainline series. Stories in it were really really good this week, so that was book number 4 for it. And then the last order I had this month was for a book called Hello Darkness. I had actually kind of fallen off this title. This is a Garth Ennis and a bunch of other writers do this series. The uh, covers are really, really good for it. The stories this month were really good. There is one story that I'm not a big fan of that's kind of like an ongoing story through several of the issues, but I think that one's kind of wrapping up. So I've actually added it back to my quote unquote pool list, so I'll be getting more of those. So, but it's a pretty good title. It's not
Nice.
super expensive.
Nice. I mean, it's good to see some newer comics out there that are actually pretty good. Right now I'm collecting, pre-ordering, and wherever I can find them, I'm getting them discounted on Amazon and all this stuff. But those EC horror, EC archives, EC actual EC comics
Oh
archives,
yeah,
and I like those because like you get the editorials and the letters. The old letters that were in there, and some of the social issues that came up in there I thought were pretty. I don't know if they're sophisticated for the 50s, or if we just never changed. You know what I mean? Like it comes in
right.
cycles. We're this beast of, uh, we're just the same as it ever was, but we all think we're like unique and new. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, those ECDC Dark Horse EC Comics archive editions, I put them just a step up than from the Epic collections by Marvel, because
Yeah.
they keep the old editorials and the advertise. It's all there. It's all there. The complete comics in them. Hey, Pope. Oh my God. I have not seen you forever, Pope, it feels like. Come organize my archives. I actually would probably do better with your stuff than mine, just out of sheer nosiness and curiosity. You know what I mean? Like, oh, wow, I get to see what somebody else has. I've seen my shit. You know, And then we have, I grew up with DR and Quench in 2000 AD. Oh, that's fantastic. I think 9 years ago, I was at a, I think I was in here. I can't remember where I was. I was at a convention, and I've got it in the bottom of my closet because it's been years since I went through and read it. But somebody had like a short box, a beat up short box of a bunch of I don't know, quality comics and American reprints of things from 2000 AD. It was a short box full. It's where I found Strodium Dog properly and a few other things. But this girl was playing a game with the dealer, and it drove me nuts. I was like giving her space, and she was trying to get like $3 less or something. And he already gave her a good price. He didn't want to carry his shit home, was what was going on. And this went on. I walked away, came back. They were still arguing, and she was still trying to get it down. I don't know what this guy was doing, putting up with her, because like I just didn't really care. I was focused on comics. And all of a sudden I just went up there and I said, I'll give you fucking $12. And I threw my $12 and took the box, and she looked at me like I was working on something here. And I'm like, well, you lost.
Yeah.
And that's where I found DR and Quench when I finally got in there, because I knew it had the Alan Moore stuff that we hadn't seen in America here, I need to reread that stuff. It had Alan Davis art. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. Addie Gravno always liked that airbrush style.
I've got a
That,
Venom cover of
is
that
that,
artist.
yeah, is that the Italian? He's Italian, correct? Am I thinking of the right person?
I'm not sure. His artwork is very good, though. I've got
Yeah,
a few cover somewhere tucked away that he did. It's probably one of my favorite.
yeah, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I can see it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he is fantastic. I brought some compact editions, but I'm old and need a magnifying glass. See, when somebody says something like that, he's not going to know what I say. This is my automatic response. This is my go-to response, man. I grew up with these. I'm like, the DC Digest. Where'd it go? What did I do with it? And just for comparison for any younger people out there and stuff, yeah, much smaller. So I need a magnifying with some of these issues now. So I feel them. I feel you. All right. You're right about pricing. Eric July seems to be doing okay. I haven't heard that name in forever. All that other comic book drama, I go to Josh to catch up on. And then And then when I do find some and I'll message you, you're so nice because I can tell sometimes when I'm bringing up stuff that happened so new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's okay, man. It's okay.
It's probably a good thing. I'm terminally online, so that it's probably a good thing that you're not consuming all of it.
Well, I have no joy in predicting some stuff, but after doing this YouTube stuff, I think 14 years or something like that, I've seen it go in cycles and I've seen the trends and stuff, and I can kind of predict who's going to blow up their channel and who's not. So I didn't get joy out of Sticky Goose and Diversity in Comics. If you go back, they've like ruined their channels themselves. And I was sort of like, well, they lasted longer than I thought. I was like, so, how's Eric July doing? I stopped watching that because apparently EVS was going after him, and I couldn't tell if it was real or not.
Yeah, I haven't. That's someone I've wanted to check out their stuff just because it is. I think it is pretty affordable. Consistent with what he's saying. I just haven't. I haven't had the time.
Yeah. Yeah, the story was reprinted in one of those DC Treasury Edition types. I may have it. I got a bunch of, and I also ordered one they're reprinting with a Jim Ampero cover for that's coming out in a month or two. It does tie into the Rutledge thing. Yep. Rutledge, Vermont was a real place, and it was there's a gentleman in Rutledge, Vermont that would do a Halloween parade, and it was like some of your first cosplayers. Instead of just being Halloween, people started dressing up as superheroes, and supposedly it's gone on and on. A couple years ago, a guy named Red Vitamin Blue Pill, I might be getting it mixed up with somebody, actually went to Rutledge to see the parade, and it had changed a little bit. And it was like Rutledge, Vermont's popped up quite a bit, over the years. I miss watching Hippie's Collectibles channel. Hippie pops up on my Facebook every now and then. He is still kicking. He's enjoying retirement from what I can tell, and he travels quite a bit. Yeah, he'll complain about the planes and the weather and stuff. So Hippie is still out there. I got him on Facebook. All right, brother. You got
All right, I got a couple. It kind of branches off of what you went over just now. So let me just throw these up. And obviously, so I have an antique mall pretty close to me, and I made a snag of just a couple things there, but kind of going off of what we've been talking about.
I owe you some money. It just all came back to me.
Yeah. So these are my three. So I'm not going to ruin your surprise. So I'll let you do yours. Unseal yours when you get the chance. But
no, brother. If you got them, show them. It's cool. Yeah, I'm going on vacation soon. It's going to be a little bit.
I hollered at Tim. I was like, "Hey, I think that this guy bought out a sale that we had went to of these digest editions, or that's what they remind me of, is like a little Reader's Digest, because that's what I grew up seeing, or the TV guides."
Let me expand on this part real quick before you show this. I think this is funny. Okay. So I'm at work. I'm busting ass. I say extremely busy at work, and I don't get along with several people there just because for different reasons and stuff. And so I work, and I just kind of don't understand how some people have time to screw off. But whatever, you know what I mean? Like I'm making that more dramatic than what it is. So I'm pretty serious. I won't take personal calls or anything like that. So I had a day where I'm like, I got to get this stuff done. I'm going on vacation. My God, I've got 3 problems going on. And then I get a text from Josh, and he's like, "Hey man, which one of these do you want?" And I'm like, "Shut my door." And then I'll get a phone call, and I'm sitting here trying to rush through it. Like, I got stuff going on, and I see Josh has texted me back, and then he's sending me pictures of these digests that he's found at the antique mall. And then all of a sudden, I had got pulled away, and the whole time I'm like all pissy, like trying to be cool and professional, but I'm like, I got shit to do going on. And I go back, and you sent me like 2 or 3 pictures, and I just finally fucking screenshotted and circled
the ones you wanted.
yeah. I was like, oh, they won't leave me alone now, So I got the busiest when it started getting good with your pictures, So yeah, so thank you. I appreciate it,
So obviously I had those 2 that I kind of showed, and then we both have this one now.
Yes.
Snag both of us a copy of that one, and then I hadn't pulled the stickers off. Do you mind if I leave the stickers on yours? Or do you want me to pull those off? Okay.
No, that's cool, man.
Yeah. So then these are the ones that Tim had wanted that I snagged.
Yeah,
if you want me to talk about any of them, just let me know.
Well, the best comic stories of the year are fantastic because it's the best stories that DC considers they put out for that year. So to me, it's kind of like a resource in an archive.
Mhm.
I have the one here somewhere where they put in Alan Moore's anatomy lesson. You can actually see DC getting better and better with a plan there for 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
leading up to that. Yeah. I
Then
don't
we
know
go
what year
to,
that one is, but I didn't have it. Yeah.
uh, I believe it's 1981 was the one I just showed. Then you have this one.
Yeah. I've seen that in advertisements or something. I've always seen it and never cracked that one open.
And of course, the same Green Lantern book that I
Yeah.
have is in your stack as well. And another top year.
Yeah. I love those. Yeah. Yeah. I've never even seen that one at all in anything. So
And I
I'm
just
glad.
want to comment on the protective bags that they've got these in. I don't know if it's coming through. These are really nice bags for these books. It's like perfectly sized. I don't know if they're actually made for these books, but they are perfect.
Nice. Nice.
And then
That's
the
cool.
last one that I snagged for you that you indicated that you wanted was this one right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
And of
hoping that's
course,
the book I had.
I know you didn't even. I don't know if you knew that that was the image on the back, but it's pretty
I'm,
sick.
yeah. See, there's a couple of those that the stepdad had when I was a kid, and when I go through that thing, I'll see if I've like recovered something from my childhood there through you. So yeah.
So I think that pretty much covers that. Is there
Yeah.
anything you want to jump into before I go into my next one?
Um. No, go ahead and finish yours up. We're doing good on time,
Okay.
and then
Well,
we got one mutual book we showed each other we can talk about. So yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, you know, a big Halloween guy. I know it's kind of overplayed now. You know, everybody's a fan of Halloween, but it's typically the only holiday I'll try to take off. So I took off from work and I went down to a comic shop in Salem. It's called Basement Comics. A certain YouTuber made a video, not so.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I think there's been two videos. One was kind of positive, and one was very, very negative.
Well,
Um,
you could say today. I mean, it was Sticky Goose, but I think that was like one of our first real YouTube talks or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was for sure. I have been to this shop on and off since it was in Roanoke and then in Salem. I've never had anything but positive experiences there. You know, he is definitely an old school guy. You know, he
It
doesn't
made
like,
Sticky Goose famous. That's the one that made him famous.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Outside of his bubble, he already had viewers and stuff. But yeah.
That he's
Oh,
right.
wait,
It's like
wait. Are we going to get hit with the Sticky Goose effect? Because I rolled up. Anyway, go ahead.
So it's right there in downtown Salem. It's you know, I'm not sure if people know where like Sheets and everything, not far, you know, from the Walmart in Salem, maybe a mile or two, but he's right there in town.
Yeah.
But he's got I mean it's a gorgeous store. I might do a video and just kind of lay out some slides of the store.
Yeah.
But it's one if you're in the area, you absolutely have to go to. And his hours, I think he's usually Monday through Friday, like 8 to 5. But if you check Facebook, you can hit him up on Facebook. He'll tell you what his hours are. Always super cool, you know. And I do that just to avoid going down there if he wasn't open that day. But he's got a giant room in the middle of the shop, and it's like typically $2 comics, but they were $1 this day. So, and then he's got another room that is typically like $1 comics that were 50 cents. I didn't even make it into there. I ran out of time in the typical $2 room.
People can probably Google his shop to kind of get a idea.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I don't know what else online. And
I
like I said,
can it. I can't really elaborate enough about the amount of stuff he has and how neatly organized everything is. I can like I really could not like I could just gush about it. You know, I feel bad about just my small collection and how unorganized it is. And I go in the shop and he's got toys everywhere, games. Now he's doing some games like some old school PlayStation and Nintendo games.
well, I think like I told you, I'm going to repeat something we talked about in the truck real quick, but and make sure I'm talking about the right guy. I remember the dude all the way back to 2009, where there was a flea market called Happy Mart, and he
Hmm.
had a booth there, a bigger booth, right? So for him to get his own shop blew my mind,
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of watched the guy. But is this the same guy that has the wrestling ring in the back room or out
Yes,
back
this
or
is the
something?
same store. It's in the back. Yeah,
Tell me
it's
about the wrestling. You're,
so
he
like he's got a whole dedicated section now for like And I mean, I'm talking probably 1,000 wrestling figures in like a section, as well as like a wrestling ring, some belts up in there.
Yeah, guys, we're talking wrestling. RASSLIN apostrophe. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. I had to make
Yeah,
that
no,
clear
so
for our
so
English viewers.
I'm sure they do some kind of matches. I've never been there when one's going on, or like if they're doing it, if maybe they do it on the weekends or something. But it's just it's like it's hard to describe how large the space is and how much he's got crammed into the space. It's definitely, in my opinion, the best shop in Southwest Virginia as far as like just the amount of stuff he has. He's always been pretty fairly priced to me. I have seen some people online say that he's not, but to me, everything I've ever bought there is pretty fair. And I'll start tearing into stuff if you want to go into detail with it, or if you want to say anything else about the store,
No,
you can.
no. What I want to make clear for people is, I think the guy. I don't know how to explain this. This isn't a negative comment. I mean, just my observation. The dude walks to the beat of his own drum. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like he, I don't like using the word odd guy, but he's an odd guy. But he's got his own thing. He's you know what I mean? He's got his wrestling, he's got his comic shop, he's got his focus. That's what I'm talking about. If you meet him,
yeah,
he's an odd guy, but that's just who he is. You know what I mean? So it's not like this is some weirdo walking down the street yelling at people. You know what I mean? Like he's not.
yeah.
Yeah, but I just want people to know that if they go there, and there's a group on Facebook that used to watch these videos and post them, the Blue Ridge Comic Book Club or something. They'll all know who he is and they'll know what I'm talking about here. So if people end up in Roanoke or in Salem and you go to this comic book shop, you're not going to meet a warm fuzzy guy. You know what I mean? But that's just the way he is. There's you know
Definitely.
that's it. I just want people to know when they walk in, I don't want them to be shocked. You know what I mean? Like um the guy's cool. Yeah,
I
he's
think that's
cool.
probably some of the conflict that Sticky Goose had is like, he's not. You've got really two different personalities there, kind of.
The video was called I got kicked out of 2 comic shops in one day. Is that it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he, without without going in too hard, a lot of Sticky Goose's opinions have molded to what Justin's really are. And it's funny to watch because at that time when that video was made, Sticky Goose was all about the graded collectibles. And Justin is not about that. He is very old school. I want to read the comics,
Yeah.
that they are not, and I don't go in there with my phone like searching prices because I think that would probably,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
go there. It's just that kind of store. It's like an older feeling store.
That was Dr.
You getting
Silver
called
Edge.
out for, I don't know if he's calling me out or you for wrestling, but
Probably, well, if I say wrestling 3 times, Dr. Silver Age would probably appear. So it's all right. I'm gonna have to do a show. I gotta expand my channel a little bit. We need an old school wrestling talk one night. So Dr. Silver Age, if we do that, I'll give you a yell, brother. So I'm ready to do some Dusty Rhodes impersonations and stuff. Um, and I'll say this, and then we'll move on to some comics. I didn't know we were going to go down this road a little bit, but it's my own fault. But what got me is when you told me about the video, if I'm remembering right, it wasn't that I wanted to watch the drama of what was going on. It's that I knew Justin from being in that shop over the years.
right.
And I had watched some Sticky Goose videos where he was traveling and showed some guy's house where he had I just could tell through there. He was in Princeton one time and I saw that video. So I just knew that Justin having this guy walk into his shop, I was like oil and water. I just wanted to.
That's exactly what I would describe it. Yeah.
I knew that this was going to be something. I was just like, oh, I got to see this. That was one of the few times that the YouTube world and the real world, kind of collided there. And I'm like,
Also,
oh, I got to see this. So it's awesome. Oh, he'll be there. So Justin, we may have to make some time to do a wrestling show. And Dr. Silver Age is fantastic. He does the Saturday show with Shannon. And just check out Dr. Silver Age too, you guys. So all right, man. I've veered us off track. This is what it's like traveling with me, is it not, Josh? I mean,
yeah, we cover a lot of topics. I'll put it that way. So
anyway, yeah.
I guess to lead into these first books that I grabbed, I kind of mentioned last week that I play a lot of video games, and one of the biggest video games out right now is Space Marine. It's Warhammer Space Marine 2, and it's basically you play as a Space Marine. it's a really interesting title, and I think it's really boosted Warhammer as like a brand right now. So I'd always wondered. I have like one or two Warhammer comic books, but never had really looked into it. And so I'm looking through his boxes, and he's got this book here. Let's see if I can get that good. And it's like it looks like it was like a monthly book that came out. And
Yeah.
the artwork in it is actually kind of reminds me of like some, maybe it's black and white. So very similar to like 2000 AD. See if I can get that. I don't know how that's
Nice.
coming through.
Hold on. Let me put you in solo.
Let's see if I can
There we
blow
go.
it open. So just kind of give you guys a taste of what's going on. It kind of looks like there's like independent stories. I haven't really got to read it yet, but put the title in there so you guys can see.
If I can tell, that cover very cool with those red skies and things like that.
Oh, dude.
That reminds me of 80s fantasy, yeah.
And I picked up two of these. So he had issue 2 and 4, and it looks like there's a substantial run of these. The numbers go up pretty high, and you can just leave me in that until you want to pop in if there's books that you want to say something about. So grab those two, just to kind of see kind of the history of the Warhammer comics, and then picked up first 4 issues of this run.
Okay.
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, I never checked out that one. Does it say who wrote that American version, that American comic?
The names listed are Andrew Helfer and Mike Avon. It looks like, I don't know if it's a D or an O.
Mike Avon Oming. I bet that's who's drawing it. Nice.
I don't know if that's coming through for you, but I got the first 4 issues of this run, and that's what I really like about Basement Comics, is that if you are just trying to like fill in a run, or if you're like me and you're kind of new and you're just trying to feel through some series and see what really, grabs your interest, I mean, it's hard to beat his store. I think I paid $1 a piece for these issues, which to me, a lot cheaper than if I was going to try to hunt them down on eBay. I'm sure.
I'll tell you what, man. I don't know if this is a Hulk Hogan thing or not, but all I hear is brother. With that one, John. Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you say about that Dredd series, because there's just something I get kind of a purist. To me, I'm like, if you're going to be doing Judge Dredd, you got to be British, even though it takes place in what used to be America. You know what I mean? Like, so I kind of avoided that one. You know what I mean? I like my Judge Dredd properly British. I can't help it. You know what I mean? But I would definitely be interested to hear have you read any of them yet?
No. I have not read any of these, except I'll highlight the one book out of here I've read so far.
Nice. Okay.
And then
let me segue right there, since you brought up the fantasy thing. I think I told you about this before we came on here. I finally got like all 20 some issues of this, and I started out with number 1 in 89, I think, when this started, 89 or 90. And the first 4 issues were bi-weekly, and it introduced me to Rags Morales. But this is where I'm at with the series. I'm actually rereading Forgotten Realms in the new format from DC. And that new format, where it's supposed to be higher quality paper, it really yellows, pretty quick and stuff, right? But yeah, this is the stuff I really like. And here's what was so cool about collecting comics in the 80s. You would get promotional posters and stuff. This is a miniature. I didn't take it out, but there's a movie called Shocker by Wes Craven. And it ended up being Skinner from X-Files years later. But basically, the guy gets electrocuted for a murder, and it goes all supernatural. Now he's like electricity-based serial killer. Kind of in the vein of like Freddy Krueger in a way. It's not heavy stuff, right? But anyway, I was telling you asked me how this book was. I would recommend it for $1 a piece to check it out. He does 4 story arcs, and Jeff Grubb actually worked for TSR, who had Dungeons and Dragons. I played D&D from 85 to about 90. And it was so cool to see the things I was seeing the monster manuals run across in a campaign from the time I was 13 to actually see the monsters, And where's it at? And just to give you a sample of the artwork, this is all about dragons, if you're into dragons. I like the more H.P. Lovecraft stuff that was in D&D. But by this time, by the 5th issue, you care if I go solo real quick?
No, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so by the 5th issue, you get all kinds of dragons. I haven't seen that many dragons since a issue of Bone by Jeff Smith. But then you also go from dragons to they get a subplot here where I think there's a crazy elf uh, god, if you will. You got paladins and elves and clerics. So if you're an 80s guy, I don't see them anywhere. Anyway. But anyway, by the fifth issue, they've introduced all the characters and stuff, and they finally get going with plots and stuff. I think this thing ran like 24 issues and stuff. They were just licensed out, where they had 4 issues from TS. They had 4 different titles through TSR at the time. And I'm telling you what, man, I'm from that era where like you didn't have comic book movies. You knew people were freaked out by Dungeons and Dragons because they had a movie with Tom Hanks called Mazes and Monsters, but I didn't know the satanic panic was going on. I mean, my roots in music were so pure. You know what I mean? I listened to Motown, Three Garage Rock. I discovered uh, Iron Maiden right when oh my god, I'm going to blank here. And then all of a sudden I got veered off into the hair bands, and that was my shame. But anyway, so about the time that like this about the time I was actually getting out of playing D&D because everybody aged out that I played with, they ended up coming out with like this really cool book. So if you're an 80s D&D guy, I recommend Forgotten Realms. They had Dragonlance, Spelljammer, and the straight Dungeons and Dragons book, and I thought the Dungeons and Dragons book was weak. I sold the first 10 of those as soon as I could and stayed on Forgotten Realms here. So Warhammer and 80s Dungeons and Dragons, we got it all here, folks. You know, have you played Warhammer?
Have I? No.
Okay.
And I have bought several sets, and like, you know, the putting everything together, painting it is always been a little too overwhelming for me. I end up giving them to a buddy who plays.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's got its hooks in me again. I've been looking at a lot of stuff that's coming out.
As a British collector, I have neglected them. Okay.
For those D&D books that you're talking about, and so this is probably my ignorance speaking a little bit, is that before or after like the R.A. Salvatore, like Legends of Drizzt and all that? Was that after the books?
No, those books came out a little before that. I didn't discover Drizzt. I was dating somebody back in like 2016, and they started making a Google account or something in front of me, and they wrote out she named herself Drizzt, whatever his last name is, that famous Drow elf. I got out of Dungeons and Dragons just right when the Drow elves, who were all mysterious, you got Drow, you got Drow, people said it differently, right when R. Salvatore was like bringing out those first 3 books. I'd never heard of them, and that's what kills me. It sounds like it took off in a whole different direction right when I got out of D&D. I mean, I played with a new campaign and some new guys, and they were cool and stuff, but it was not the same as the people. You know, I played with people who actually read Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? You know, so but I got a ton of those, but I just realized, you know, I've got this box here where I'm reading older stuff. I got 3 or 4 copies of this Dragonlance book that for some reason got hot. I got 1 issue of Dungeons and Dragons I picked up just to have it in there with it. But there's a 90s Forgotten Realms came back. They got licensed out quite a bit in different places. Oh, I don't see it. I may end up like throwing the book out. But somewhere in here, I found a 90s book, Forgotten Realms, that I bought. And when I looked it up, it actually was like a little pricey, and I found it in a dollar bin. So, you know, that license floated around there for a while. So, and from what I understand about Dungeons and Dragons now, the game may not be for me. I got into White Wolf games in the 90s. I played as vampires and werewolves, and then I started running campaigns with Formora.
I think D&D to me seems like a lot of other things, but one of the interesting things is you can find groups that play like the older rule sets, like, you know, 3.5 and you know, some of those older editions. People are still very, very purist about what edition they want to play. So.
Second edition all the way, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
They're all good as long as people are playing. I mean, it's not like they're out on the streets playing Clockwork.
Exactly.
Exactly. You know, the guys, the generation I played with, like I was 13 years old playing with guys that were like 16 to 30. You know what I mean? Every small town, everybody knew each other. Those guys are now like, you know, running businesses and shit. Like, you know,
Yeah, and I think that there's a, you know, I don't do it, but I think there's a bigger online support for like people playing just like how we're talking right now.
Yeah.
There's apps like Roll20 and stuff like that that kind of facilitate like an online. We don't have to be in the same physical space anymore to meet people that you want to play with. So
Oh, right
that's
on.
probably interesting.
Yeah. One of the things I looked for in YouTube a couple years ago, and there were people who were playing online, like we're talking here. They were talking,
Yeah.
they were playing. You could watch them play if you do a YouTube search. What you got, brother? What you got?
Critical Role. I mean, you nailed the head. I mean, Critical Role is huge now.
Mhm.
So next book, I was going to pick up number one, but I didn't, and I'll go into a little detail of why I didn't. But this is a series I've been super interested in.
Is that number two?
That's number two.
Yeah, Doctor. Yeah,
So I
nice.
don't remember one. I will have to pick it up some other time, but I think when I show you guys what I picked up instead, it'll make a little bit of sense.
Okay, I'll digress. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be honest, no background in this, so I picked this up just to completely
Oh,
kind of jump in.
nice.
So like I said, no background, so super interested to see what the hype around the Doom Patrol is. So
Um. Okay, so what you picked up there, Josh, is the number one by Paul Cooperberg, Steve Lytle. I got it. I love it. And if Paul Cooperberg would write comic books with the same mouth he has online, we would have had Garth Ennis 10 years sooner. You know what I mean? So that's a good introductory. That's going to probably, if I remember right, that'll give you the history of the Doom Patrol. And then if you get curious or you want to know the good stuff to buy, you know where to find me, brother. I got it all. You don't even have to buy it.
I knew
I'll hand you the box.
I might be
I'll hand
going
you
in
the
at the
box.
wrong spot.
No, you're good. No, you got to start somewhere. And Steve
Okay.
Lytle's art is fantastic. I really love that series. But if you get into the Doom Patrol, man, just come on over. I'll hand you the box. I'm looking right at it, you know. So
And you're going to see consistent themes. There's definitely a time period of stuff that's like really got my interest right now, or like where I'm kind of dipping my toe in. So it's like 90s to 2000s is kind of where I'm kind of like picking up. So
okay,
Shazam, I got
nice. Ordway. Yep.
1 and 2 for this.
Now that was a fun series. I mean, it really was fun. Ordway did some really good stuff there. So yeah, that's kind of thing where once you read it, I think you're going to like it. I think you'll like that. Yeah.
And
What do you
then,
think? Yeah.
uh,
No, you go ahead. I don't need to interview you. Go
were you
right
talking
ahead.
about the movie, or
I was
is
about
that?
to. Well, oh man, we got like 35 minutes left, man. Do your thing, brother.
Well, you can jump in. I don't have, but probably about 10 more books, so we're not going to be bad on time. But
Yeah.
I saw recently there was like a Lobo omnibus that I really wanted, and it sold out before I could get in on it.
Okay.
And so I grabbed book 1 and 2 from this series just to try to get.
Okay. Have you looked closely at those two covers,
As far as
specifically the elbows? That those he hit a penis on each elbow.
I definitely had not noticed
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Hold it up, man. Hold it up. It would
Which one
be
do you want to start with? The first one?
oh, however you want. Yeah, it would be her muscular arm. Pull it up to
Oh,
the
I definitely
elbow.
see it now.
Yeah, Simon Bosley
Now
said that.
you've ruined that cover for me. I appreciate it.
No, Simon Bosley came out and when they got in trouble for it, Simon Bosley said, "Well, what's funny is that's the actual muscle, you know." So yeah,
There's issue 2.
yeah. That the Lobo and the first Lobo miniseries and that one, fantastic stuff, man. Oh man, it takes me
So
back to my
not a bad
senior year.
spot to jump in there, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Lobo's the kind of thing where a lot of people jumped on Justice League when he put him in there, and then they found out about Omega Man going backwards. But right there, this and I was there. This is one of the things I'm really comfortable saying. That Lobo miniseries is where he really took off because of Simon Bisley's art coming out there and stuff. Fun stuff. It's just really fun stuff.
And we've got, I don't know, Batman Gotham Knights.
Nice. Have you read it yet?
I have read this issue. This is the one issue I have read.
All right, guys, let me say hello to some people here. We got Comic Crack here, and we have La Rosa here. Um, I love these people's show. Love these people. I'm getting all hillbilly here. They check out La Rosa's channel and Crack. They do Sunday shows in the afternoon. And that is an international show. I believe La Rosa is in Great Britain, living there, and Crack is up in Canada. I've been watching wrestling from '97, and that's when the Canadians were the bad guys in America. So I'm trying not to go all heel. I'm trying not to talk like I'm watching the Attitude Era here. So check them out. And then John Jones, I bet Josh will struggle with Hellblazer. I was going to bring that up later. Yeah.
It's possible.
All right, man.
And so we have, just continuing on, I got the first 3 issues of that.
Okay. I've never read that one. Is that a Ballin cover? That look like Ballin covers.
I'm not sure.
It could be. That could be.
This was the 3rd one.
Nice.
Really good artwork on the covers. I don't know if I'm a fan, and maybe it's just me, of like how they did the. You see, it's kind of like uniform, and how they did the layouts on these 2. It's like completely different from this one.
Nice.
I don't know if I'm a big fan.
That one harkens back to Mazzucchelli on year 1 is what it reminds me of.
And then I think we've talked about John Ostrander, if that's how you say his name. I really, really like his writing. So I saw that there was a series here that I could snag the whole series.
Okay.
And so grab the whole series of that. Again, just $1 a piece for all these books.
I think the first time I saw Ostrander write Batman, with my experience, was in an issue or 2 there of Suicide Squad. I thought he handled Batman really well.
I really like his run on the Spectre, so I think, I really want to get into the Demon. So again, I didn't get to grab book 1, but he had 2 and 3 of this run.
Yeah, I think that went from really good. Yeah, that went from Alan Grant to Garth Ennis eventually.
Yep. So there's 2 and 3 of that.
Nice.
And I think then I've got 3 more things to show, and I'll be done.
Okay.
So this is a little off comic base, but I hadn't seen
Vaughn and John Byrne. I got to check that out then. Yeah, go ahead, man. Sorry, brother.
Oh, no, you're fine. We had talked about this series, wanting to grab these, and he had one of the first print Dark Horse, like where they brought it over in English, and I was like, for $10, it was hard to beat that. So
yeah, and those are novelization. Those are novels or like books. Those are not comics.
Not comics.
I think I've got 2 here, and one was definitely fantastic. I never got around to the second one. The structure's really different. You can tell if it's translated, in my opinion. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably very true. But still interested to jump in it. Really enjoy the animated movies. And so this next one, I know a lot of people kind of hate the state of Disney now, and I definitely am not a fan of everything that they're doing. But the special, the Werewolf by Night special that they did, it was really the first exposure I had to this character. So when I saw this book, I wanted to grab it.
Yeah, that is volume 2. And the Steve Gerber issues before that, Plugart, the first volume is really good. It's got Mike Plugart, and but I'm trying to think. Steve Gerber had a few issues somewhere with John Buscema. I can't remember if it's volume 1 or 2, and I'll probably know like in an hour and be like, "Hey, Josh," but he started getting a little bit of the mind trips, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Steve Gerber, in my opinion, was Vertigo 20 years before there was a Vertigo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you'll enjoy the Man Thing. Yeah. He's more of there's some issues where he's more of a plot device than the main character, Okay. So yeah.
I'll be interested to see where that goes. And then this was the book. So I had a choice between Hellblazer issue 1 and this book, kind of with what I was working with, what I wanted to be able to spend here. And I ended up going with this book.
Yeah. Let me get you on solo on this one, because your instincts were very well. Hey, oh, you were on
I think I
solo.
was on solo.
Just for people to know, if you run a StreamYard, you can see everybody at the bottom corner of your screen, and that's what I was watching. Yeah. Not yeah, when you messaged me that and you sent me a pic of that and then said you had the chance of getting Hellblazer and some other book, I was sitting there like, well done. Well done. You picked the right one for value wise, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it
So
felt fitting on a for a Halloween cover. I mean, it would be hard to beat
well,
that, I think.
I don't want to embarrass you. I don't know how you feel about it, but are you comfortable saying how much you paid for that Marvel Chiller and how much it's worth after I sent you the screenshot? Are you
Oh,
comfortable
yeah,
with
so I only paid 50, I think, for this book, and
yeah.
it's in really good condition. It's got a little fading, but not much, but I mean, I'm very happy with that price.
Yeah, I thought I misread. I thought you paid 30 for the whole lot you showed. That's probably
Now, I
my
paid a
bad.
little bit more than that, but I
Yeah,
still feel like it was fair for the amount of books I got and the
and
condition and everything.
and as an actual price guy, see this lets me know that like you've evolved as a collector. Like you're just on your path in a good way because your instincts were to get that.
Mhm.
And a mint copy of Hellblazer #1 goes probably between $70 and $80 as an actual price guide, not an app or the top hot 10 books. That book is about a $500 book, and then the grade it's in, I would say you got about a $300 to $350 book just from going by a pick. I haven't had it in my hands, so I was just like, "Well done, sir. Well done." Like
Yeah.
nice.
So, all in all, I'm on like a small business kick. If you're in the area, Basement Comics, go there. It's very much worth it. Make your own decisions. Don't let what you see online always color your opinion of things, I guess is the
I
important
think
thing.
it was way back in 2005. I already knew the guy, or whenever I don't know what it was, but he was on Williamson Road in Roanoke.
Yeah.
I met Scott Connor down there. He lived that way, further down that way. And he was taking me to a comic book shop that's down the road from it. And I already been to this comic book shop, but what it was, it had a new owner. You follow what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So when we get to the parking lot, he's like, "Don't mention the other comic book shop. They had a falling out or something." And I was like, "Oh," he's telling me this right when we're walking in the door. So I do my haul video. I think I was doing it live. Anyway, I was doing my haul video for that. This is years ago, and I told that story. I said Scott Connor told me not to mention that other store. Turns out he was on the live stream watching me. Like, yeah, yeah, we don't get along. Like he was right there. He just left a comment like, yeah, that was probably a good idea. Like I forgot about that. Yeah. So that's what I mean. He's like I said, he's unique. That's the better word, not odd. He's a unique guy, man. He's got his own thing going on. Okay, Ballin did about 39 covers for that series. Jim Lee did one. Holy crap. Is that the Gotham Knights? I think. Yeah.
That's what I think you're talking about. Yeah.
Ballin did a few covers. I got it. Yeah, see, this is why I like doing these Sunday shows, man, and being like with, you know, seasoned collectors here, new people and stuff. Uh, we figure this stuff out. All right. I was telling you, like, I've been doing, like, I'll show the last thing. I've been doing, like, a lot of catching up reading here and there when I can in the evenings. I've been focusing a lot more on art. I don't know. I'm actually thinking about doing a live stream where I do some ink wash or something while talking. I can't do both, is what I'm finding out. I really get into the moment. So, anyway, on those nights where I don't have time to do that or something like that, I finally got around to rereading this from
Mm.
82. 82 was such a great year, man. We had Dark Crystal, you know, we had Blade Runner, and we finally had the two hottest books in the land come together with Walt Simonson, Terry Austin, and Chris Claremont writing this. I think it's aged pretty well. It's just a straightforward story. There's just enough there to where like you feel like you may not understand what's going on with the source and the source wall. Seeing Raven versus the Phoenix. Raven had her black Raven form that would fly around. Of course, they figured out a way to get the Phoenix to come out after she'd already been dead for 2 years. There's a whole thing there. And I tell you what, Walt Simonson's version of Darkseid may have been the best thing since Kirby at this point. Just the drawings and the way Claremont came in there. Claremont really nailed. He actually had a few panels there where it felt like Marv Wolfman wrote the Titans. So kudos to him. So it's sort of nice to find out a 42-year-old book back when company crossovers like this were rare, or you never thought you would see it. to find something that like it holds up, man. It's just an old school comic, straight plot, and just a little bit of enough sci-fi to where you're sort of like, what the hell had just happened? But somehow like it fits. So it was cool to just sit down and just, I don't know when I first read this thing, but I think it was into the 90s or something before I got it. Um, and then this I bought this a couple years ago for $1, and I'm thinking about trying to find some more of them. But it really made me feel weird because this came out 20 a little over 20 years ago, and I'm like, oh dear God, I remember that, and it made me think. But this is called Sketchbook Diaries. What's the name? James Kolaka. Anyway, there we go. So what he's done is that every day from January in this volume, January 2001 to December 31st, 2001, he did little 4-page cartoons of his day. 4 panels equal 1 day. And this is in the middle. At the end of it, you get to see someone who lived and how they reacted on the day 9/11 happened in this particular volume. Now, when this came out, and when I first got this came out through Top Shelf. I thought, okay, that's cool. That's a cool thing. It's different. It's very cool to see somebody take the time to do this and put it out, and it's interesting. And now that I'm older and stuff, I'm like, I kind of wished I'd done something like this. I have sketchbooks and comics and things like that I could look back on. I've done some journaling and stuff, but I think it's really brave to do a journal and go ahead and print it for all to see. You know what I mean? And to have something like 9/11 happen in that book and be able to get your thoughts down and capture that moment. I appreciate this now as an older guy than when, and I remember reading Wizard or something mentioning this as it was coming out, and I had zero interest. So it's kind of cool to be in a place where I can appreciate things like this now. Sometimes we just got to live life and your taste will change and things like that. Sketchbook Diaries. And that's what I got. So I've got one more thing to talk about when you get there. So what you got, man?
I think that's where we're at. I think I've kind of went through everything I had, so we can kind of jump right into that.
All right. Yeah, we can blow everybody's minds here. I haven't been able to do this.
Grandma.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is old school. I haven't been able to do this in forever. We all used to hold up our Andy's #1 like this, and if we really knew each other well, we'd hold up our giant-sized man things together. But, yeah. So what we have here are the Dark Horse phone books. These are the reprints, collected editions, and I think they came out with like over 20 of these. Of the Savage Sword of Conan black and white magazine. In the first volume that I have right here on the shelf, it had like the Savage Tale books before it came out. So you had your Conan the Barbarian #1 comic come out in 1970, Roy Thomas, Barry Windsor Smith. But to get around the Comics Code Authority, they went magazine size with black and white art, and they didn't have the Comic Code Authority, so we got a bit more of a Savage He-Man, a bit more skin, a bit more. To me, they feel like H.P. Lovecraft inspired stuff. These were always in the house, in my house. I'm sitting here talking like this was like the TV guide in the house. You know what I mean? Like the old man would get it. People would get it. They'd get these Destroyer, Remo Williams books and stuff. Savage Sword of Conan was everywhere. You know what I mean? Like there was always a stack of the magazines by a bookshelf, by the TV. So it kind of blows my mind that it's all collected now, and I can see the years go through. You know what I mean? Have you read any of yours?
I'm on volume 1. I am not on volume 2.
Yeah. Now the volume 2 has a lot of John Buscema, Gil Kane, and Neil Adams drawn story. We get the black and white stuff of, this stuff is just fantastic. I mean, he's fighting giant snakes. This is before the movie of '82 there with Arnold. I think Set is mentioned in here. He's in the jungles. He's traveling the Hyborian countryside, just on these great journeys.
Did you say it's before the movie? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
How much bigger did the magazine get after the movie?
See, I really don't know. I was already into Conan just from it being in the house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't want to sit here and like, I mean, I got the treasury editions over here, and two of them are the originals that were in the house where they reprinted some of those in color. You know, the big. My thing is when I went to see the Conan movie, and it was a rated R movie, and it still didn't feel like a big deal back then. There's one of these treasury editions has Conan on being crucified, on the big X with vultures around him, and they put it in there. They put in the high spots. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's really hard to screw up Conan. But Marvel did it that last time around. But anyway, people are like, those were good. You got to give him more of a chance. I'm like, he was not part of the Avengers. I don't care what millennium you put him in. But anyway, I mean, they even pulled out a Cool Goth, I think, with the X-Men back in '85, where they turned Manhattan into the Hyborian Age, which I thought was cool. They pulled in Red Sonja possessing Mary Jane in the '70s in a Marvel team-up by John Byrne, Superman meets Red Sonja. So there were better ways to cross over the characters, what I'm trying to get at. But anyway, not to digress, but the Savage Sword book and stuff like that, it's like nostalgia. Every now and then I'll be flipping through this. I've read maybe 3 or 4 of the magazines in order this time, but I've already flipped through it, and it's so wild for me to remember an image here and there. Maybe not the whole story or the whole book, but I'm like, I remember this panel and that panel because the artwork is just so stunning in this and gets graphic. I mean, you'll sit there and have a bunch of siren like ladies there. It could be witches or something, tempting old Conan, or Conan's trying to tempt them. And all of a sudden you got like heads flying around and some great big huge HP Lovecraftian tentacle coming out trying to get them out of nowhere from the bogs of the swamps. So just absolutely love this series, man. If you don't like one story, just move on. You'll come up with another one here in a minute. So what's your take on it? Have you been able to absorb any of it?
So it's definitely, I mean, I was exposed obviously to the movie before the works, the books, and before I've done any reading. I really enjoy it. I think the black and white. I don't know if that's how they were originally printed. I think it translates really well. I'm a big black and white fan though, so maybe I'm a little biased in that. I definitely can pick up on what you're saying. It definitely feels like, comparatively speaking to some of the comics I read from that time, it's a lot more mature, I would say. At
Yeah.
least at least from like the violence and like what's actually shown. I enjoy the read and so far. I'm not very far into the volume one.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely give you an update as I get a little further into it, but it's good. It's
Well,
good.
okay. I'm glad you're liking it because, like I said, I was kind of there growing up with it. It was out. I can't be objective. You know what I mean? What is
Right.
going on?
Yeah, no, I understand.
I can't be objective. To me, there's like this wave of nostalgia in that artwork that I would just pour over looking at. When it comes to inkers, I was like a Tom Palmer guy. I like the guys that use a lot of blacks, that Wally
Yeah.
Wood method and stuff. That's what I was. To me, that was comic book art. This heavy blacks and makes it work out. So a black and white book, like sort of, Savage Sword of Conan. When it came to the black and white magazines and stuff, there was no one better. You know what I mean? That was everybody that worked on that and stuff. I mean, these images, man, are like, to me, they're iconic. I mean,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, of course, it's got the Frank Frazetta inspired stuff, which is probably where they went. I mean, this is a Boris cover on this one, man.
Yeah.
And when I think Boris, I think of horror books. Seeing him do Conan is odd to me, which it probably isn't that big a deal. My exposure to Boris was from those Monster magazine covers. I'm sure he's done novels and stuff, but I don't remember seeing him when I was a kid. If I did, I didn't know it was him. So yeah, I feel like, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think for me, being newer to the hobby, the price of the actual magazines are just outlandish at this point. Like if you were going to track down volume by volume, so like having a collection like that is like super nice for me. And I
Yeah.
think some people forget that. Like some guys like you have been in the game for a while. You've got a good number of these already collected. It's very cost prohibitive to try to get into something like that without a collected edition.
Yeah. And the Dark Horse phone book collected edition, man, I can't. These things still go for like $20 and stuff a piece
Yeah.
if you find them. I think a lot of them were actually worth 18. This one, how much was it when it came out? I don't see a price on it. I'm sure it's here somewhere. But anyway, I've looked up what they're supposed to go for. I've seen some of these go from $30 to $80 on eBay, but they're worth an average of $18. It's just the people that get these, in my opinion, don't want to give them up. They're like, yes, but I couldn't get over the fact that there's like over 20 volumes of this. I'm good just having the first two, maybe up to three or something like that. Like I said, I've read a bunch of them. Now the quality after going into the 80s and stuff, I think went up and down all the way to the end. So I think I don't know. I would say the first 100 issues, in my opinion, is like the good stuff, and then after that, it's take it issue by issue and stuff, right? But that was just a sign of the times. It wasn't from like neglect or anything. There's just so many Robert E. Howard and L. Sprague de Camp. Is it L. Sprague de Camp? Am I getting it right? Anyway, there's just so many Conan stories you can retell and adapt. You got to move forward with this stuff. At this time also.
John kind of highlighted that Titan is actually doing a reprinting. I'm almost positive those sold out, unless that's a different one. Titan's reprinting here as well, but I'm pretty sure it like sold out before I could even try to snag it. But that might be the omnibus of the actual comic, the Marvel comic stuff.
But so aren't those like hardback reprints that are like $125, $150? I heard. Oh, I'm trying to think. Sometimes I get my lines crossed. Like, I'll just be Paul Levette's. I've got him on Facebook and a few things. And every now and then, like I know Paul Levette's pointed out like the DC Marvel crossover books, they had to get rid of a bunch of the books, destroy them or something because there was a printing issue, and he felt bad for him. But somewhere on the line, one of the comic pros that I have said something about they screwed up something with the Titans reprints hardcovers before they even came out. Did you hear anything about that?
No. Unfortunately, I think the only video I've seen is Jim Mint's. They sent Jim Mint a copy of it, and so John said it is the one. Jim Mint had a copy, and it looks just like the Marvel versions, like the hardcover Marvel version. I mean, it looks super nice. I'm not gonna lie. Like if I had the money, I would have bought one. But they sold out pretty quick too.
Yeah. I would say, you were with me when I got those Epic collections for $5 a piece of the Conan comic. I would trade those in for those Dark Horse reprints. Now I'm sitting here thinking about these phone books. You know what I mean? Like I would trade in there's a few Conan comics I would keep if they're like Barry Windsor Smith stuff or a Walt Simonson cover. But I would give those up for a stack of the magazine any day,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dear God, Surly Tim. This man pops up in a blue moon. Good to see you, brother. Just bought the first volume of Conan the Barbarian for $100 and had the Adams, Green Lantern, Green Arrow coming. It's a bit expensive, but it's worth it in the long run. I think so.
That is one of those books that I don't think that's ever going to get cheaper. I think that's something that's probably going to hold. I think that is correct. I think, at least from my experience, none of the Conan stuff really seems to be losing value, even as the market is kind of like adjusted back down.
Yeah. Let me see here. See, on this, I'm like a broke record, man. Titan, who's putting that stuff out, I think they do fantastic trades, right? Yeah. This is the Elric Moorcock universe stuff that they're pulling from everywhere. First Comics, the 80s, Helix in the 80s and stuff like that. Getting all this stuff in these square bound library editions and stuff, they do a fantastic job. So the fact that they're reprinting, I mean, it's just, they do a fantastic job. Let me stick that there. And like I said, I don't get a lot of their stuff, but when I do get stuff, I've never gotten something that wasn't quality. I felt, you know what I mean? That book is light, it's sturdy, it's got that sheen, cut well, spines are well. They take a little bit of a beating, you know what I mean? Like they're all right, man. So the fact that they're going all out with that stuff, if I had the money to spend, I would feel fine spending that kind of money at Titan, if that makes any sense for the company. Yeah. So yeah, they've done that pretty good. Well, brother, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
The last thing I was going to talk about is, and most of the guys in the chat probably already know this, but I was in a chat and they were sharing some like art books that they had, and that EC Fanatic edition. I don't remember. No, if you remember me talking about it. So I just want to share the web. I don't see it laying around, or I grab it for you. But the reason I want to plug it is because this is where I have found like a lot of artist editions and stuff. It's Bud Plant art books, and
Okay.
they've got a website. I actually had to order it by phone, so it was kind of like in a way old school, I guess. Like I couldn't. I think you can order online. I just was not able to, so it might be a me problem. But they send out like a monthly catalog.
Nice. Let me put you on.
This is their holiday catalog. The normal monthly one is like you get it, it's black and white. But if you order from them, they start sending these catalogs, and they do a lot of like the PS art books reprints. Let's see if I can find it. And you can buy some of the newer comics from them, and it's just let's see if I can find it. So just like it's like a full catalog. I don't know. I really have never been able to receive anything else like this where I've got like a ton of great reprinted books that I can just order right away from. So I thought I would share that if anybody was kind of interested in the kind of the same things.
Say the title of what that is one more time.
Yeah, so I think you can
Yeah.
see it here, but it's Bud Plants, and the actual company. Let's see if I can get that to come up for you. Bud's Art Books.
There we go.
So definitely check it out, guys. If you're into that kind of stuff, I highly recommend ordering from them. I've had nothing but good experiences the couple of times I've ordered. So
Nice. Well, Josh and I are men of the world, and we have things to do as in about 9 minutes. So, Josh, I'm not going to. Oh, we got one more comment.
I was gonna say one more comment before you get out of here.
I really wish they would release more companion volumes of G.I. Joe that are in newsprint. Amazing book. Glad I could finally catch the show. Glad you popped up, brother. And tell you what, G.I. Joe, staple of the 80s. In my day as a kid, it was maybe a few Star Wars here and there, but it was trying to figure out how to stretch $5 allowance for a He-Man and some G.I. Joes, And I found my tin where I have some G.I. Joes. Every couple of years, I'll pull it out. I'm now old enough that the O-rings that hold the torso and the crotch together dry rotted. I opened it up and it was body parts everywhere. I'm like, oh my God. But
like a graveyard.
Okay, so one more, and then those we'll wrap it up. The Bud Plants catalog are amazing. He's been snagging those since the 90s.
I'm saying.
I didn't want to say anything. It sounded familiar. And I'm just sort of like, I'm wondering if I've got some in a box over here or something. I don't know. But anyway, so like I said, I'm going to be going on vacation. There may not be a show next Sunday. I'm going to try to maybe have a video schedule to come out. So everybody needs to be subscribed, thumb it up, and hit that bell when you subscribe because I may randomly do this. Josh may just text out of the way and say, hey, man, I'm home alone. Let's do this. And make sure you're subscribed to Josh. Josh, we're going to have to get you set up on StreamYard and maybe do something on your channel at some point. Yeah, I think you're going to have people reach out to you. You may have a whole new set of YouTube friends at some point. I don't know. I mean, you don't know where this will take you.
I'm not complaining. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad I'm so glad you messaged me and said you wanted to do this. That was awesome, man. I appreciate that. So like I said, I'm going to be going on a vacation. There may not be a Sunday show. Make sure you subscribe to Josh in case he, he's a spontaneous guy. I'm going to let you know he travels. And I had a blast, man. I appreciate it, man. Seeing some newer stuff here, man. So anything you want to say to everybody out there?
Just appreciate the comments, people even throughout the week, like jumping back in, like you said, I would, people keep offering great suggestions. Someone suggested the new Batman Absolute series, so I'm going to be jumping into that. Probably when they do like one of their little collected editions, DC does, like where they'll put 6 issues in like a collected edition. So I'll probably jump in there at that time. But just really appreciate all the feedback and appreciate you letting me be a part of the stream. So.
Oh, absolutely, man. My honor. Anybody watching on the rewind, leave some stuff for Josh, man. He's going to be checking it out. He admitted it. I knew he would. All right, guys, everybody be excellent to each other. Read your comics. And, man, Thanksgiving's coming up, man. So, yeah, we'll go holiday by holiday here, man. Later.
See ya.